Welcome back to Lineout Lab. My name is Peter O'Donnell. In this video, we're going to look at RedZone defence and considerations teams need to make when putting together their defensive strategies and who is assigned what role. In particular, we're going to look at principles and how teams can potentially cover as many bases as possible, which is very difficult. But before getting into it, if you're new to the channel, please click that like and subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of your screen where you get access to loads of additional content from me. Please also like and share the video to help the discussion grow. Thank you. So we're going to look at lineout defence, and in particular, we're going to base it off an example we have from Wales versus Ireland a few weeks ago, and where Wales had some good lineout defence and they negated Ireland's peel around the corner. But there's a few interesting aspects that we have to consider. But before we do that, we need to kind of go back a step and look at what Ireland have done in previous games. So here's a 6+1 example against Scotland, and Ireland are going to do a back peel, looking to attack the first two defenders off the lineout and the last man on the lineout as well. Okay, so with this particular play, Ireland they try and tie in that last man, and as I say, get to the first two defenders off the lineout. So that's an interesting back peel that they've done recently. So Ireland also have a bit of history as well. We have a 5+1 example here, which they did against England in recent years, and they break out and then play a lovely ball back inside to Dan Sheehan. It's over for a great try. And what's interesting about this is, even though it's not in the Scottish example, we have a 6+1. This is a 5+1. But if we kind of go back a bit and look at this, when Ireland win the ball in the middle, England have their 5 defenders, and it's really interesting what the hooker in the channel, the front man, and the last man do. And also this guy too. So the last man is going to hit the maul in this example, and that's a consideration you need to make. What should the last man do? What do these guys do? Do they hold? And now, as it turns out, behind we're going to see the 9 and the blindside winger work down to the blindside channel as Ireland break out open, which just keeps these 3 defenders honest. But if you keep your eye on this guy, see, so Ireland have a 9 and a blind. Ireland have their scrum half and their blindside winger behind the lineout, and they're gonna attack or flood down the blindside channel as the breakout open happens, which is going to keep these 2 men in particular honest. But this guy, the second man in the lineout, as we play it on, we're going to see him trying to make a decision. Should I go open side? Should I stay? So he's not 100% sure what to do. So here you can see him looking. What do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? He's aware he's aware of these 2 guys, and as they flood down this blindside channel, these 3 men are thinking, I probably need to hold and try and combat that or negate that. And if this was a ruck, you'd often tell teams, if they have 2 attackers down the blind side, we want to have 3 defenders, because the 9 is an extra attacker, and he can actually put us under pressure. But here off lineouts, I think it can be quite challenging, particularly when you have 2 backs at pace. It's a bit of a risk-reward scenario. Do you just go with 2 defenders, or do you go with 3? And teams do different things. But if you go with 2, it frees this man up to maybe fill the inside space or push the tail gunner out. And obviously, if the maul got going forward, he'd have to hit the maul. But as we play it on, we can see that he stays. And because the tail gunner has to respect Josh van der Fleer, or the +1 who breaks out, that leaves that lovely little bit of inside space, and Ireland get over for a great try against England. So it can be quite challenging, and having the perfect plan doesn't always cover all your bases, so to speak. But there are a few things we look at. So if this was a 6-man, I know there was a 5-man a second ago, but if it was a 6-man, there's loads of things that teams do. You know, sometimes they put their scrum half at the front, sometimes they have a tail gunner here, sometimes they put extra forwards in here. You know, so there's loads of different things that we have to consider when you're putting together attacking strategies. But as a defence, we need to consider, well, where's the ball won and who's doing what? So, for example, if the ball is won in the middle back or in the middle, does the last man need to commit? Or who else can commit to that maul? And so these are all factors and considerations that you need to think about. And when I'm putting together attacking strategies, I'm often looking at who's in the channel. Do they only have 1 player in the channel and the blindside winger comes in here? Where does the scrum half defend? Is he here? Is he here? Is he here? Whether it's a forward or whether it's a back. Is this a forward or a back? And then when the ball is won, let's say in the middle front, does the front man commit? If it's won in the middle, does the front man commit? If it's won in the back, does the last man commit? Do they hold for a second? What's their body language like? So you're trying to pick up all these different types of cues. So on the flip side, we need to have principles in place for the same defensively. So if the ball is won in the middle, who's going to cover the peel open side? Or if there's a transfer, who's going to cover the transfer? Who's covering the shift drive? So there's loads of considerations and factors that can be quite challenging, and decisions you have to make in a split second, which make it very difficult. So here's an example from the autumn series, Ireland versus New Zealand quite recently, where New Zealand defend a wrap play and with a ball back inside quite well. So Ireland tried to get around the corner and a bit of blocking as well, and New Zealand covered that inside ball quite well. So let's look at this again. As the ball is won, we see a tail gunner and a scrum half, okay? And then a 6-man lineout. So these 5 defenders are looking to hit the maul because Ireland have a decent maul, and they've got to respect that and negate that, like most defences would, okay? But this tail gunner does quite a good job. Firstly, he's looking for the overthrow, which is quite good. And then this man does a really good job of making a quick and decisive read. So as we play it on, notice how, well, firstly, the tail gunner picks up the body language. So as we play it on, notice how the tail gunner, his eyes are on the ball. You look at the first threat. There's an inside threat coming. He's quick off the blocks to close the space. And by the time the hooker gets the ball, notice where the New Zealand scrum half is. He's right up on the 5-metre line. He's done a great job to close that space down. And the tail gunner has made a good read. He's read the ball. This guy's closed space down. So they've actually done a really, really good job of shutting this down and not giving Ireland an opportunity. So principles in place. Tail gunner is aware that he's probably going to have to take that first man, and that the 9 is going to fill in that inside space. So it's a really good setup that New Zealand have gone for, and it's covered it off. But the tail gunner also has license to jam back in and take the ball carrier too as the ball is passed. So he's made two good reads. He's done his job and he's made another read. So pretty good defence in New Zealand. Which leads in then to the opening clip that I showed. And so what we're looking at is with a 5-man line, a 5+1 example. Wales have 5 defenders in and their tail gunner back, 1 man in the channel. And Ireland are going to do a wrap play open. But we're really looking at these two and their connection. Okay, the tail gunner and the last man in the line and the role that they play. So Ireland win the ball at the front, which is one thing to consider, that there's no real need for this man to hit too early. If that ball was won in the middle, it would depend what he does. And that's maybe something we need to think about. But middle front, certainly middle, potentially he can hold. Potentially he can hold. But certainly a ball won at the front, there's no real need for him to hit that maul. There should be enough people to deal with that. And then we look to pick up cues. And actually, even though Van der Vlier here, or the +1, is trying to stay low so he's not seeing, we pick up the other cues as well. But let's watch what the last man on the line does quite well here. So Ireland have a bit of animation, and notice the delayed running coming from the blindside wing. Notice his line. So we have these 2 men. So notice the line of the blindside wing and the arc that he's going to go on. So they go, and as you play it on, this man, he's holding for the inside ball, and tail gunner has the hooker on, or the first hands on as they come around the corner, whether that's a breakout or whether it's a wrap, like we've seen in the last 2 examples, in this example. So that's something which we need to make decisions on. We have principles, and then you also try and make reads in the moment as well. And in this example, Ireland has done a pretty good job at shutting down Wales, Wales has done a pretty good job of shutting down Ireland and not giving them an opportunity. So there we are. Some good examples, some good tries as well, or one good try as well that we saw from Ireland against England, but some good examples of some decent defence with Wales and New Zealand. The big thing for me is to have principles in place and who's going to do what. It might depend on who you're against, it might depend on the conditions, the state of the game, the trends that you've seen. It's very difficult to cover every base, and you can go through as many scenarios as possible, but it's just so difficult to cover all bases. But what I would suggest is maybe considering who you put at the front and at the back. That might give you a bit more solidity, or a bit more confidence in your system. So, for example, at the front, it may well be a prop, for example, and you can give him some insurance with a good defender in the channel, perhaps, whether that's the 9, whether it's the winger, whether it's a forward. Particularly as you get closer to the line, sometimes you see forwards in that channel, in the hooker channel. And then as well, who the last man is. It doesn't always have to be a prop. Sometimes it could be. That obviously might limit your other options in terms of competing in the air. It may not. But it is maybe something to consider who you put there, whether it's a prop, a second row, or a non-jumping second row, back row. But the key thing as the last man, in this example, the prop does a great job of actually holding that inside space and picking up the line as the winger goes in the dark, and he covers that inside option. So I think that was really good from him. So loads of things to consider. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button in the bottom right corner of your screen. I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to grow the channel. It's It's something which I've dipped in and out of over the last couple of years, but I'm really doing my best to try and be really consistent and have a video every week, if not 2 videos. So I'm going to try and have a technical video starting midweek next week. But yeah, so I'd really appreciate if you could like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. So.